So, the official alpha of Blender 2.8 is currently out and running, and I might say Blender has proved to succeed by producing the most professional experience out of a free application. No, I'm serious, Blender is actually a major competitor among other 3D software such as 3ds Max and Maya. Blender is even giving the photorealism of Unreal Engine a run for its money, especially considering Blender is free and downloadable by anyone. And now, Blender has only made it easier for its users to create realistic models and fancy animations, and dive deeper into the world of 3D animation and modeling. Blender 2.8 has introduced a new engine that has not previously been seen before, but was well expected by hundreds of thousands of Blender users across the globe. This new engine, Eevee, allowed users to see what their render would look like in real time, without having to go through a pesky, slow rendered mode for cycles. Eevee is quick, responsive, and only enhances the speed at which creators can make their pieces of art using Blender. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the upcoming changes to Blender 2.8, so let's get started. So first things first, CodeQuest is complete. If you guys don't know what CodeQuest is when a bunch of Blender developers all come together in basically one huge meeting and grind just to get Blender 2.8 done. Next thing is the bug tracker is open, exclusively for crashes though. Right now, Blender just wants to focus on the big things and not necessarily a small thing. If Blender gets a bunch of stuff coming in, for a user interface not working properly or something like that, they can't focus on the big things, like people having huge crashes. I remember when I tried Blender 2.8 a few months ago, if I tried to import anything at all from Blender 2.79, it just wouldn't go in. Blender would immediately crash, and that's what they're really looking for at this bug tracker. Next, there's a new default theme. This is going to be a lot better for working in the dark. It's a lot deeper, and you don't really have to change your user interface anymore, because that was a huge problem with Blender 2.79. Everything was just too bright and popped out at you. You just wanted something chill that you could look at. Alright, next, and this one is kind of important if you don't want to use Blender 2.8 yet, is all add-ons are disabled. That includes Blender add-ons, that includes Archimesh if you're using, or Archimesh, however you want to pronounce it, if you're using that for interior modeling. All add-ons whatsoever are disabled. And finally, Blender is going to focus on completing existing features. One of the features that did not make it into Blender was the new grease pencil. Now you can actually do a full 2D animation with grease pencil, which is actually really cool, and I'm looking forward to using that and seeing that, if I might use it at all. But that was not put in, unfortunately, but that's what they're going to be working on. Alright, on day 41, the beta is finally going to be released for Blender 2.8. This is going to contain all of the features in Blender 2.8. They should be completed. Now they're just going to focus on the small stuff. They're going to focus on not necessarily the crashes, because those should be fixed by now, but they're going to focus on the small stuff, like little bugs within Blender. So the bug tracker reopens to everything. They're going to merge the 2.8 branch into the master, and all of the release notes are going to be released, which means that we can get a good understanding of how Blender 2.8 works fully, and we can get a good understanding of what they changed from Blender 2.79b to Blender 2.8. So this is mainly going to be when they're focusing on the small stuff, so focusing on bug testing is going to be a primary task right now. Alright, day 79, September 19th is going to be a little ways from now, but the final Python API is going to be completed. This is basically how just Blender works and how user interface works and stuff like that. It's nothing really big to worry about. It's just the final Python for Blender 2.8 is going to be completed. This means that the add-on developers should update their old add-ons. This means stuff like Archimesh and HardOps add-on should update all their add-ons to Blender 2.8. Now, it's important to note that this date is flexible and should be at least 1 month before the release candidate. When's the release candidate, you're asking? Well, it is scheduled for the release candidate to be on day 110, October 20th. Now, nothing really big is going to happen except the official release of Blender 2.8, not alpha, not beta, just 2.8 is finally released. The manual is going to be updated with new features for Blender. This means you can look in the manual and you can see really what's going on. The manual is going to have to be changed a lot because Blender 2.8 is so drastically different than Blender 2.7 and Blender 2.6. Now, all of this is going to be featured on blender.org. You might get some new scenes that you can download and update and stuff like that. But besides that, day 110, October 20th, is where Blender is scheduled to have its final release date for Blender 2.8. As for now, I'm honestly enjoying Blender 2.8. I still prefer Blender 2.79b simply because of the add-ons, hard ups. I do a lot of hard surface modeling, and hard ups honestly just makes it a little bit easier for me. But that's my opinion. Write in the comments what your opinion on Blender 2.8 is. Have you used it yet? If not, download it right now and try it. It's important to note that Blender 2.8 has a minimum OpenGL of 3.3. If you don't know what your OpenGL is, test it, or you can just download Blender 2.8, and if it won't open, then I'm sorry, you're not allowed to run Blender 2.8. That's really unfortunate for you. But hey, maybe there's hope. You can always update your drivers. Or if you're like me, I just happen to have 2 different display adapters. One of them, the Intel, the OpenGL was 3.1, and I got all bummed because I thought I couldn't run Blender 2.8. But then I looked at my NVIDIA GeForce GT 550M, and yeah, that had a OpenGL of 4.4. So I'm going to be good for a while as Blender keeps on updating itself. What do you guys expect out of Blender 2.9 and 3.0? That is going to be insane. I really can't wait for that. But that's going to be quite a few years into the future, so let's not worry about that right now. As always, this has been a member of the Blender community. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys are excited for Blender 2.8 as I am, and peace.